Hi guys, I want to talk to you today a little about school anti-bullying policies. Now, um, in America there was a big rush of kids committing suicide because of bullying, and even in the UK we've had one or two kids sadly take their own lives because of bullying. Now, you might well argue that those kids possibly had less robust resources to deal with bullying, or perhaps even were not the most balanced people in the first place. But the fact is that even the strongest person can be driven to the edge if they receive sustained hatred for long enough. And dealing with bullying in schools is a tremendously difficult job. It's very easy to just pronounce how schools should deal with bullying. But the reality is that if you work with kids, I'm sure that those of you who are senseis will have noticed that there's a continuous background noise of whining from children. They're always telling tales on each other. They're always a little bit whingy, and I don't say that to put kids down, but that's just the nature of kids. That they want attention, they want sympathy, and that's part of their age, and part of our job is to educate them to only seek help when you need help, not to make mountains out of every single molehill. And against that background, it can be very, very difficult against the background noise of children being children. It can be very difficult to discern which are the genuine cases of bullying or persecution. So I have the ultimate respect and sympathy for a teacher's position. However, there are two school policies which I vehemently oppose. The first is called zero tolerance, and what zero tolerance means is that if physical altercation happens in school, the school has zero tolerance for anybody involved in it. Thus, both parties will be punished. And the school may well do an investigation, and depending on the school will depend on how cursory or in-depth that investigation is. But because they want to create a culture where there can be no violence in the school at all, everybody gets punished if there's any violence. And that has to be the most ridiculous policy I've ever heard in dealing with bullying, because what it says is that if a bully attacks you, you can't defend yourself. And if there's one thing that as karate teachers we're teaching our children is to stand up for themselves. We don't want them to go out there starting fights or being bullies in their own right, but we do want them not to be victims. So zero tolerance. I don't know if you remember, there was a lad in I think it was Australia. I think his name was Haynes. He was a big old kind of a hoss of a kid, 15 years old, and he was picked on. I may even point you to the video from here because it's both horrible and heartening to see. And he was picked on by a cocky little runt of a 13-year-old kid, and obviously, this big guy was not somebody who defended himself very much, because otherwise the size disparity was massive. I mean, probably a foot or more of height difference, and the big guy was a lump as well. And the little guy is picking on him, and then he's jabbing punches at his face, and the big guy is just turning away, trying to avoid a situation, won't stand up for him. And then something snaps, and he turns around and he grabs this kid and he picks him up in a wrestling hold, turns him fully over and drops him on his back, I think, and the kid's the smaller kid's ankle hits a wall as he falls, and then he gets up and limps away most pitifully. And to be honest, I felt a bit of sympathy for him when I saw how hurt he was, and then after bullying this kid, that he walks away crying and so humiliated. But on the other hand, the little sod fully deserved to be hurt, because he was quite happy to punch this other kid, and then what happened was the bigger kid got expelled for a number of days, as did the little kid. And this video of this big kid defending himself went viral, and people took different points of view. But the fact is that we would want our students or our children to defend themselves against bullies if they had to. And a school that treats both sides as equally culpable, or a policy that treats both sides as equally culpable, is absolutely outrageous. That's like saying that if you get raped, then the victim should be punished as well. Yeah. Now the other policy is one which some schools do, which is I can't remember the name of it, but what they basically do is get the victim into a room with the bully, and then the victim has to explain how it makes them feel, you know. And again, I mean, if you can extend this to a rape situation, it's fine if a victim wants the empowerment of looking their attacker in the eye and saying, you made me feel like this, and this is a consequence of that. But the trouble is that bullies are not people who are particularly racked by guilt, or they wouldn't be bullies in the first place. Now, I appreciate that bullies have issues themselves, and that they are coping mechanisms for insecurities or needs for gratification within their own personalities. And to a certain extent, you could even argue that a bully is a victim of the system or the victim of their own upbringing themselves. But we don't put the perpetrators of violence ahead of the victims of violence. So as soon as somebody has bullied somebody, they are the perpetrator. And we should be protecting the interests of the victims first and foremost. And forcing the victim to be in a room and then tell the bully how their feelings have been hurt is almost like putting a rape victim in a room and letting the rapist get off by hearing a recounting of the rape again. You know, I've heard of there were times with the murderer Jeffrey Dahmer when he was recounting his crimes, when he was aroused in the process of recounting it. And likewise, if bullying is about empowerment, the last thing that you need to do is hand the bully more of what he gets off on, which is the feeling of superiority, the feeling of terror that he brings to others. So that's another policy which I feel is absolutely ridiculous. So for those of you who have kids, I hope that you will tell your children never be violent when they have a choice. But if they have no choice, if the choice is between facing a school zero tolerance policy or getting hit, that they should defend themselves and then deal with the school repercussions afterwards. And then that's where you step into the arena, you know, because they can't face the school rules on their own, but you as an adult can certainly challenge those, and you can take it to the school board, you can take it to the papers. There's a whole raft of options that you have to reveal the stupidity of blanket anti-bullying rules which don't really protect the victims. You take care, guys. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please take the time to rate and comment, and it would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe. Thank you.